Hi, I'm Dave Oughton. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri in the United States, and I've been a World Federalist for the last 40 years. I became one after I read a book by Professor Ronald Glossop called Confronting War. And in that book, he shows how war can be eliminated if we would create a democratic world government. We could outlaw war if we create a world parliament, a world executive, and a world judiciary, and it would be democratic, having representatives from all over the world. The number of representatives in the parliament would be based on the population of each country. Then that world parliament would be able to make laws which would apply to all citizens of the world. This would be in addition to all the national governments that would continue to exist. They would continue to make laws and enforce those laws within their own borders, just like states and provinces would continue within each country and city governments would continue. It's just that world federalism would be a fourth layer of government. And that's necessary, I'm convinced, in order to get rid of war so that conflicts between nations and other groups can be settled in a nonviolent way through adjudication or through different voting mechanisms. I also am convinced that many of the problems we have in this world, environmental problems, problems with terrorism, problems taking care of the common areas of our planet like the oceans and the atmosphere and Antarctica, all those kinds of global problems cannot be solved, I don't think, by nation states or through the United Nations. So the United Nations is the best thing we've created so far, but it's a confederation of national governments. And so...
What does that mean, confederation?
That means it's a loose association of national governments who have agreed to work together on different problems. But under a confederation, under a confederacy, the national governments retain sovereignty. And the UN is based on treaty agreements between nations. The problem with that is most countries keep most of their treaties most of the time, but that means not all countries, including the United States government, keeps all of its treaties all the time. And so what we need to do is move from a world of treaties between countries that are not always kept or enforceable to a system of world law that is enforceable against individuals. That means if an individual, even a national leader, would violate a world law, then they could be prosecuted through the World Federation. And I think that way you don't have to have sanctions against countries where leaders violate international principles. You don't have to bomb other countries. You don't have to have war. You simply hold national leaders and others who violate laws against war or against terrorism, against genocide, that such people could be prosecuted in world courts. We currently have a number of world courts that are able to prosecute individuals through the International Criminal Court, but the problem with that, it's based on a treaty. And not all countries have signed that treaty. Only about 125 of 193 countries have, but that excludes the United States, Russia, China, and about 70 other countries. So until we get all the countries of the world united under a world federation and have a criminal court which would be able to prosecute individuals and other mechanisms for solving global problems and outlawing war, we're simply going to have more of the same problems over and over again.
Do you think it's really possible for most of the countries of the world to get together on this, David?
I think that there are individuals throughout the world that I've met and talked with who are interested in these ideas and consider themselves to be world citizens in addition to being citizens of their own country. And as I've traveled around the world and had these kinds of discussions, I think there is more and more consensus that this is what the world needs. And I've also, as a professor of the world's religions, teaching college classes about all the major religions, I'm convinced that the religions of the world have principles that they teach that has led to a declaration of a global ethic by which people of all religions agree on basic ethical principles. And one of those basic principles is not to kill. And so war is simply the kind of mass killing that we have used so far in world history in order to solve different problems. But of course, many times wars just makes things worse, besides killing a lot of people and costing a lot of money. So the money we could save, besides the lives, is tremendous. We could use the money that is currently part of the war system. That means over $1 trillion per year that the countries of the world spend simply on their military and on armaments. All that is unnecessary if we would have an effective and a just world federation, that whenever conflicts or problems come up, those problems would be solved in a non-violent way.
Do you have hope for the future?
I do have hope for the future, otherwise I wouldn't be doing the sort of things I have been doing, teaching these kinds of ideas in different ways, and meeting with people and joining organizations, and learning that I think there is some hope when we reach a critical mass of people who realize that there is a possibility of outlawing war and solving our global problems. It's just that we haven't yet been able to do it so far. But I think by transforming the United Nations from a confederacy to a federation of national governments, that's the necessary mechanism in order to bring about world peace.
And you belong to Citizens for Global Solutions? You're a member?
I'm a member of Citizens for Global Solutions, which used to be called the World Federalist Association, and I have supported the organization on the national level and international level for many years, and I am a board member of the St. Louis chapter of Citizens for Global Solutions.
I guess we'll